Hello, my thirsty friend. Today we are at Domaine Millan together with Theo.
Bonjour.
Salut.
No, I'm the man in charge. I'm the son of Henri and Véronique Millan, who started the winery more than 30 years ago, in '86 to be true, and we're producing organic and natural wine. Voilà. The first cuvée for you is Grand Blanc 2020 with the 5 grapes blend, Chardonnay, Muscat on the plot, and Grenache Blanc, Vermentino, and Roussan on another one. This is our, we'll say, most famous cuvée so far, with another one in red.
Okay.
Because it's the one with the most consistency and quality each vintage. You can show the back label too. Le Grand Blanc is so far the most famous. We have another vintage to try, to compare, who was my dad still in charge, which is 2016, we're going to pour it after. So right now the winery is almost equally divided, no, not equally divided, but close to be divided between the whites and red variety. It's about 30 hectares planted, but only 25 in production. We are blending the 5 grapes in concrete tank. They co-fermented together, and then we age it a year in oak barrel. About a year.
Yeah, but old barrel, no?
Old barrel.
Yeah.
Well,
and this is a natural, no sulfated.
No, there's a little bit of sulfate. It's the only thing we add is the sulfate before bottling, and could be before after aging, but very low quantity. And there's no yeast, nothing else, no filtration. I'm more against filtration rather than sulfates. Because for me, filtration remove the matter of the wine, the soul, the spirit, anything you want, rather than adding sulfates, which is here to protect the wine to avoid further complication. Regarding the vintage, like for example, this vintage is super dry. There was no frost, fortunately for us, no hail also, but no rain, and a lot of heat quite early. We experienced that for the 2019 vintage, but it was a big difference compared to this year. When, for example, right here, right now, mid-June in 2019, it was 20 degrees also during the day, and the end of June, like the 28th, it was 47 degrees. So it burned the grapes. It burned the grapes and it burned the things that helps the wine to ferment. Inside the grapes.
No, I mean, we moved from 2020 to 16, definitively a big change. I mean, this was still the previous style, or?
It was still my dad handling and managing the wine and the harvest. Compared to 2020, it was a blend of all those different parcels, even the young vineyard. And it was, he harvested quite late for me, like mid-September. Trying to reach some maturity that he found out in 2003. But for me, his memory sometimes make him not weak, but on default. And so 2016 is good, but it takes time to get appreciate our hair. Super rich.
Yeah, I mean, I can feel the nose is much more exotic, more. Also, yeah. 6 years to open up, so...
This is the bottling from this year, so it's the last time we bottled the wine. We have a huge quantity.
Okay.
In between, we still have the 2017 in tank and 2019 in barrels. 18 is quite similar to 20, so 18 is already sold out. It was really low quantity as well because of the heavy rain we had during spring, so a lot of disease, a lot of mildew.
Yeah.
So 16 was still like took time to get ready, and 16 it'd be better in a few years, and because of the richness, because of the deepness of the other vintage, rather than 20 that's more accessible right here. Or if you try the 18, for example, if you find 18 anywhere, you would notice the difference. Also, it's probably a difference of style that I try to bring to the winery, to the wines, not to the winery, but to wines. Not really different, but more focus on plot and vinification.
This one, I almost feel there is some botrytis on it. Was it?
Where the Chardonnay and Muscat is on a plot. It's a little bit down where we are currently now. It's quite wet, so you might feel like richness.
Mm-hmm.
It took so long time to finish the fermentation rather than 2020, and so we spent after the harvest, spent a whole year in a concrete tank, and then a year and a half in an oak barrel. So you are comparing two very different vintage. 2016 super rich, 2020 quite fresh and not heavy maturity because there was almost no winter, a lot of frost here. For example, on Chardonnay Muscat, we usually produce between 30 and 40 hectoliters on 1.2 hectares. In 2020, we only produced 10 hectoliters. So Luna and Gaia, it's a skin contact with Grenache Blanc, Vermentino, and Roussanne. It's part of the few wines I put my name on it because I create them, I start them. And 20 days skin contact in concrete tank, and they age a year in a foudre. So in a big oak barrel of 3,000 liters.
Ah, it's beautiful. I mean, you get beautiful loveliness. I like those delicate tannins. I mean, the nose is expressive. I get some orange marmalade character.
So the thing with us is we have a lot of white wine now because of the soil, because of the terroir. Who is composed of blue clay, blue marl. Mm-hmm. It's the same type of soil you can find in many places in France, but also now in mostly for us in inspiration in Jura, who gives some of our wines some oxidative notes and help the wine to age so far, so long, compared to our red, which this terroir will produce like light style of red, more glue, more easy to drink, easy accessible, and the whites they have the most potential to age for a long time. So that's why I slowly replace some of our old plots by white variety because the consistency and the quality through vintage are better and better. I'm talking from experience, and my dad, when he started planting white variety, because before him there was no whites at all. He did because my mother wasn't drinking any red wine, and he did it by instinct. That's probably the difference between my dad and me. At some point, is I am more aware about our winery, our terroir, our vineyard than he was at the same age. And because of all the work he did, so I have the advantage of knowing that, and through my experience and creation, I can tell which one we age better or older.
Okay, so now rosé.
Rosé, a bit of a rosé vintage because it's the 2020. It's called Noah. It's the name of our second son with my wife, who's from Florida, in USA. And it's so Grenache Syrah vinified together in a foudre, one of those foudres we have, and aged a year in a foudre also. So it's more like rosé with real matter, real character, real body. I think is the wine made of red grape that will age the best because of the acidity. 2020 was not, I said it before, but it was not vintage that will age for the red. But for the rosé, for this one particularly, I think it has a really great and true potential. So
everything is vin de France here, so don't look for any Beaux de Provence. Now we are testing this
La Carré.
La Carré, 100% Roussanne.
Voilà. 2019. So La Carré means square in French, and because the plot is square, it's a very small plot, and each year we're producing around 2,000 bottles, more or less. And it's always has this powerful note of the passion fruit and very powerful wine and super structure, super acidity level, wine that been built to age. So
Yeah, it's funny. It's like you say, it's like some passion fruit with almost like some salty caramel together. I mean, it's the acidity is like very clean, very deep. I mean, I don't remember to have drunk Roussan with. Usually they are more fatty, more on the sweet.
they have less energy.
Less energy. Yeah.
Anyway, that's Le Jardin. That's a Merlot, 100% Merlot 2015.
Okay, I mean that's quite an unusual wine. Le Jardin, 100% Merlot 2015. Well, I mean, I would not have expected this in this
No,
area.
so it was a sort of a mistake from my dad that because he wanted to put Pinot Noir and the only thing he had time was he had Merlot, so he put that. And actually we figured out a bit more than 10 years ago that the Merlot on the clay soil fits perfectly.
Yeah.
It has a lot of freshness, a lot of matter, a lot of consistency for vintage. So my goal is to find grapes that fits our terroir. That's why I say I'm planning more and more whites, but the Merlot is a counterexample for red variety, and I think it's a great red wine that has true potential to age. And when you put it aside with a red meat, with a Côte de Bœuf or something like that, it's just fucking nuts. It's just fucking crazy.
Amazing. Yes, I mean already good notes of evolutions. I mean, some smokiness.
After quite a while, especially now for the 13, we developed some black truffle notes.
Yeah, it's a big boy.
That's why I say when you put it with this bloody.
You need something like a rich Wagyu beef. Bam.
It makes all sense.
Oh yeah.
You have the juiciness, great, and then you have like we did the experience with some friends a few years ago to cook Côte de Bœuf and.
But this one is cep. I mean, now I get the cep on this one.
Barbecue style wine, red wine, but great red wine.
Cep or sanguin. I mean, wow.
It's a Pinot Noir 2020. So finally, after a few years, we managed to put Pinot Noir in our vineyard next to the Merlot because my dad first planted in 2000 Merlot and next to that Syrah, and those Syrah never produced any good quality wine. So after 10 years, Bernard was trying to understand the thing. He took some wood from Burgundy from Pinot Noir from Burgundy and grafted over the Syrah. It worked perfectly. So then we multiplied and we removed the Syrah and replaced it by Pinot Noir. So 2020 it was one of the first vintage we managed to produce a quantity. But as I explained before, the adequation of the terroir and the grape is make any wine like good wine, but a greater one.
This is
Le premier.
Yeah, that's it's quite unusual.
So it's one of the first grapes we harvest. Always mid-August we have to harvest it if we don't want to drop the acidity, because at the difference with the Grenache, the Pinot Noir you harvest it on the acidity level rather than an alcohol or tannin.
Okay, that's the end of the day with Domaine Millan. As Theo was explaining, I mean, they have issue, with the regulation, and people doesn't want to work together. So, and at the end, they prefer to declassify their wine and sell everything as Vin de France or in like IGP. And this is exactly what Trévalon, which is one of the most famous in the area, did. Ovet also is doing it. So I think there's like 14 producers in this appellation, and there's only 11 left selling Beaux Provence. So it's kind of the credibility of the appellation. I don't say. It's not the same, when you have three of the most serious producers who doesn't want to get or doesn't want to put on the label Beaux Provence, it means that something is wrong. Anyway, that's what it is. If you don't drink label wine and you're interested in what is inside the wine, then you understand that they prefer to declassify and have their freedom to do what they think is best for their wine.